Hi, and welcome to the Bi.4.Twi Podcast. I'm your host, Ellis Golden, and today I'm joined by two special guests, Supermassive Twilight Hole, the podcast, and Bellaseclipsewig, a beautiful Twilight cosplayer and friend of mine. I hope you enjoy this episode. It is pretty much just me trying to convince two Eclipse lovers that Eclipse is awful. So I hope you appreciate that, or maybe it gets you fired up to tell me why you think Eclipse is great in the comments. Enjoy. Oh, welcome again. Pretending this is a different day. Welcome again, Jenna Vesper, host, creator of the Supermassive Twilight Hole podcast, previously seen on episode 2. So they are a self-described pro Eclipse viewer, watcher, lover, and I am a self-described Eclipse hater. I hate Eclipse. So I'm so interested in what you believe are like, this is why Eclipse is great.
It kind of boils down for me on the main part is that I like how accurate, like how close it is to the book in a way.
Okay, true.
Yeah, the movie is literally 7 hours long because for some reason Melissa and Stephanie decided, they were like, no, we will go literally page by page from this one of the longest of the books, and we're gonna give them all of the backstory that Stephanie decided to shit out for us, and she like kind of didn't need to do to still have the love triangle element of it. Like some of it she did have to have, but it probably could have been like added to New Moon, or we could have like figured it out. But regardless, I still love Eclipse for a lot of other reasons, which I'll get into in a minute. But when it comes down to the movie, I can definitely separate the movies and the books as two separate things that I love and hate for all various reasons. But sometimes at the core of my heart, I really love how like great adaptations they are, in my opinion. Like, doesn't make them perfect, but they are pretty close to the books, and Eclipse is one of the best in that regard. Like, it just really hits all of the marks.
That's true. That's probably not my biggest gripe. That's you know what? That is my biggest gripe with the movie, is that it's accurate to the book, which I hated. So it's like, I actually wanted y'all to change this and also this way, actually just scrap the whole thing and come up with a new story.
Yeah. But I mean,
I'm such a hater.
do you not
Okay, they
love like the
scrapped
sexual
something.
tension? Like,
What sexual tension? When? Between Edward and Bella?
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's good, but it's like, we got that in like the first one, like when they're making out on the bed, it's like, wait a minute.
Okay, yeah, just that one like 5-second moment.
Hey, that one 5-second scene changed 7-year-old me's life. You don't understand.
That leg grab in Eclipse changed my life.
That's true. No, Eclipse there is, but the thing is that it's surrounded by all this toxicity that I'm like, I don't want you to be making out with him right now. I want you to be mad at him. It's like,
so true.
New Moon just happened. He basically kidnapped you. That's like one element that I like that the movie lessened on, was like, one, we don't get Bella's inner monologue with like the assault from Jacob, you know what I mean? Like, it makes it so much worse hearing that, because in the movie there's some like plausible deniability where it's like, maybe she's like kind of feeling it,
Yeah.
And I like that Charlie doesn't congratulate Jacob for kissing Bella without her consent. That's good. I like that Edward is less kidnappy in the movie. That's good.
True. I forgot how kidnappy that all was.
Yeah, and like he gets Alice to go along with it too. It's like, okay, we're just character assassinating everyone in this book, or what? Like, what's going on?
I just can't decide. Like, I think I'm having a little bit of a crisis right now because I realized that I found that all so hot for some reason reading it when I was younger.
Okay, you got to reread it now because it's terrifying. The entire book, I feel. So Bella is like, Look, everyone thinks she's not badass. Bella is badass. She's constantly sacrificing herself in like physical ways too. And like she's always staying up for herself, especially in the books. Like she's always like, don't do this, don't say that, blah, 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 blah. That makes me uncomfortable. Like she is setting boundaries. In Eclipse, she's setting boundaries and no one gives a fuck. And it's so like
Yeah.
scary
Yeah.
almost because it's like she's trapped where like she gets mad at Charlie when he doesn't stand up for her and she wants to leave, but like where the fuck is she gonna go because she's still a minor, she's living in his house.
True.
And like
Yeah.
Edward and Alice are like inhumanly strong, and so it's like she can't just leave because they'll just like grab her and bring her back. And then Jacob is like also way
Yeah.
stronger than her, so he like can kiss her and she punches him, badass again,
Yeah.
and she
True.
breaks her hand doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like if he hadn't backed up, that's a scary. The entire book just feels like a bunch of scary situations where no one is just listening to her. And like Alice, who we kind of expected to have her back, is even just like, sorry, Edward told me he'd buy me a car if I kidnapped you. And it's like, what the fuck is this? That's not cool. Don't do that.
Yeah, I do have to clarify. I think just the hotness was the kidnapping part.
I mean, look,
She's
I
waking up in
also
the
grew up on
darkness.
Wattpad. I
Exactly. I'm
get
like
it. Like,
twisted.
no. Look, I get it. It's only because of the fact that I'm not able to like bask in that because
Yes.
it's surrounded by everything else. It's within the
Yeah.
context. If it happened in like Twilight or New Moon or even Breaking Dawn, I'd be like,
Yeah,
I
that's true.
mean, I shouldn't be finding this hot, but like,
But it's yeah.
but
I
it's
mean, they
accumulation.
definitely yeah, and Eclipse is really like I said, there is like a little bit of like why but I feel like she just needed to flush out so many extra parts of the characters, and she just kind of lost sight of like what she was doing in some regards. But
She's, she lost the plot a little
she
bit.
lost the plot a little bit, I'll admit. But I don't know. There's some parts that I still find really romantic, and I'm a sucker for that bedroom scene, and I'm a sucker for the
Yeah.
engagement, like a fucking
I do love the
idiot. The
engagement. I'll give
engagement
you
will get
that.
me every time.
But that
Um,
ring,
yeah, I
if we're gonna
know
bring
it's
up the
gorgeous.
engagement, we have to bring up that ring.
You're right. It's gorgeous. Is that what you were gonna say? And you're not
Yeah.
at all.
Every time I bring up that ring, I feel so bad because I know some people like got that as their actual engagement ring, and I feel really bad just being like, it's hideous. But like,
Do you want to see the fact that I got it tattooed on my body last week?
shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I kind of
Number one
ironically,
Eclipse stan. Wait a minute.
yeah, I actually like love getting like kind of cringy Twilight tattoos,
Okay, that's hilarious. I
but
love that.
isn't that really great?
Yeah, no. And the thing is, I don't mind the way it's described in the book.
No,
Actually,
absolutely. I always show people, and maybe you could put it up there for your listeners. Is the book version, and people have made photos of that or shown what
yes.
photos of that. It's
Wait, I'm gonna
gorgeous.
show you. I have a ring that my grandma gave me that reminds me a lot of like kind of what I pictured when she described it. So this is the middle part.
Yes, I see that.
It's like the
Wow.
gold. See, it's the gold and then the like cluster of diamonds. Like, isn't it very like
That is what it should be, absolutely.
right? It's somehow so like like, if someone described it, I'd be like, that doesn't sound like anything I'd like at all. Like that sounds so garish and big. And I typically like, very simplistic jewelry, but it's like you see it and you're like, wait, there's this Art Deco thing going on. And it's like, interesting. And
I
then the
mean, you'd be
movie,
surprised how many times people actually compliment me on it, though. Like, they do not know what it is. They're like, "Oh my god, I love your ring," and I'm like,
oh,
"Okay."
well, is yours more like the new moon one or the eclipse one? Because they kind of, I mean, is it eclipse or
Over
no,
Breaking
it's
Dawn, I
eclipse or
guess.
breaking dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the eclipse one is like okay. It looks more like an actual ring and less
Mm-hmm.
like a Claire's piece.
Yeah, no, mine's definitely like a cheap Claire's piece. It's fucking disgusting, but I love wearing it because it makes me feel betrothed to my dear Edward. As a lesbian, I'm just like I am a lesbian, but not for Edward.
Lesbians love Robert Pattinson. Someone, I can't remember who said
Absolutely.
it, but someone was like, I think it was Trixie Mattel and Brittany Broski were talking about how lesbians love men and more than like straight women, and they're like, get a new thing, straight women. This is ours. Loving men is ours. It's like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, actually. Oh god, but like not the way you guys think. But okay. So yeah, I would say that like probably one of my other is so speaking of loving men, another huge pro part of Eclipse is the tent scene. The sexual tension in the tent scene with all three of them, with Edward
They're
and
gonna all fuck.
Jacob. It's giving, Brokeback Mountain, but it's giving a little bit of like Eyes Wide Shut. Like we're gonna
To
have
me,
like
it's giving Seth is hearing everything and this poor innocent boy. And the other part that it's giving me is Edward's just giving such like maturity. He's like, you know what? Honestly, if we were in different contexts, I kind of like you, Jacob. Like, you seem like a chill guy. And Jacob's like, shut the fuck up. Shut
I
up, dad. It's like,
I have such a chubber right now next to your girl.
yeah, it's like, what the fuck, dude? I thought we were having a sweet moment.
Like, can you actually imagine being in Edward's head during that entire thing? Like, I sometimes cannot. And by the way, if anyone has any fanfic recommendations for Edward's perspective during that scene, I need it
Oh my god.
immediately.
So, what else about Eclipse? me hating, me number one hater.
Riley's kind of hot.
Not this.
I'm
Not
grasping.
this. Not this. If anyone's hot, it's like, okay, let's be real. I'm really mad that they like, okay, listen, hear me out. Hear me out. Wait.
Everyone, shut the fuck up.
Shut up, hear me out. Don't start yelling it. Obviously, I'm mad that they recast Rochelle Lefebvre, if not even just for the simple fact that it ruins like continuity. Like, no one else got recast. It's really fucking annoying. I hate it. But insert booing sound effects. But Bryce Dallas Howard is really hot. Bryce Dallas Howard in the movie The Village by M. Night Shyamalan is the most attractive woman I've ever seen in my life. And you know what? I won't apologize and I won't leave. I know Rochelle Lefebvre is also very attractive. I've seen Wolf on Campus. Okay. I know. I know she's very attractive. I know she's very attractive as Victoria with her bare feet and the leaves in her hair. Trust me, I get it. But Bryce Dallas Howard is like also giving, and she's giving more like book accurate Victoria, which is like, I don't ultimately, I wish they wouldn't have recast. I'd rather they just stick to the movie's trajectory of Victoria. But the book, she's supposed to have like this baby voice and this kind of uncanny doll face and stuff.
Ooh, so real. That
Yeah.
scene, the fight scene is. I also am a huge fan of the fight scene. I think it's very fun, but she really brings it in
Yeah.
that role in that moment. And you're just so brave for saying this because it's like what I wanted to say, but I was afraid. So I'm really proud of you. No, but she is hot, and like she definitely brings the like devious like sexiness too. I mean, and like her and Riley are so hot together.
There is, it's so toxic, but there's something kind of hot about it.
And like the fact that she's like just like blatantly using a man. Okay, go
Okay, queen.
off. Yeah, let's do
Pop
it.
off,
Like,
queen.
just like completely like, yeah, I'm just gonna like snatch you and then use you. Welcome
Yeah.
to the army. It's very fun for me. Yeah, and I like that. I also think there's just like a sweetness to like that time in the fandom. Like there's a it's insane, but like I feel like that's just like where a lot of our memories are and like the excitement and
Yeah.
content around it. So I mean all of it just kinda adds to that for me. That I will always love that movie.
Yeah. And the thing is, so this is a positive and a negative for Eclipse. So a negative book wise for me, and I feel like for a lot of other people, like it's gotten brought up a lot, which is um where's the fight in the book? Like, we get Victoria and everything, but we have this whole build up and it's just like, oh, the fight's happening down the hill. And it's like, okay, but I know we're in Bella's POV, but like, can we like get some of it? Like, we had this whole big lead up in training and we don't even get to see them fight. Like, what is this? But in the movie, this is a plus for it. We get to see it. So that's nice.
Yeah, so true. Yeah.
But no one dies. This is my boyfriend's gripe, and he's fully
Oh.
turn me over to his side, which is like, where are the stakes?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that stakes
Someone has
vibe.
to die. At least in New Moon, like Harry died. Like, I know that's not a main character, and I'm not saying I want a main character die. I'm
No.
just saying we have to have stakes.
But
Otherwise,
if
what
you
are we fighting for?
but if we had to kill a main character, who would you kill?
I mean, no one
Just
wants this, but Jacob, I feel like that would have been okay. Hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. Again, the
oh my
boo sound effects
god.
playing. The boo, boo, boo. Okay, hear me out. I think him dying heroically, which he kind of did, like he gets like crushed where, his ribs are broken
Yeah.
and everything, and they
Yeah.
only heal because he's a
Yeah.
wolf and everything.
Yeah.
Him dying heroically in Eclipse, because obviously Stephanie Meyer didn't know what the fuck she was going to do with him, would have been a nice closing to his character and would have always idolized and put him in a spot where he's almost like a martyr character, where it's like, it's beautiful. Because the thing is, he doesn't get a happy ending either way. Like, I don't think what he gets in Breaking Dawn is a happy ending. So it's like, at least in this way, everyone inside the context of the book and the fans are like, he's so brave. I can't believe wow, I can't believe he was so selfless and so incredible at his age and blah, 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 blah. You know?
No, but then we would have just been left with like toddler Renesmee carrying around like a jar of ashes that she's imprinted on.
Goodbye. I feel like if you kill Jacob, you don't need Renesmee.
I know.
You don't need imprinting at all. Just let her be. If you want to have a demon child, just have a demon child. Why is it?
It always has to happen. This is what Stephanie gave us. We cannot. No, I totally agree.
But okay, if we're not talking about like that,
No,
because
that's like
that's what I want.
no.
But if we're
I do.
talking about
I do respect
Cullens,
that.
if we're talking about Cullens, okay, hear me out. I do not want this. Esme is my favorite character. I never wished this for her. I'm not gonna say Esme, by the way. Never, ever. This is my boyfriend's idea of who he thinks should die.
Yes.
He
Yes.
thinks that in Eclipse, Carlisle should die, like
Mm-hmm.
in the Breaking Dawn, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
fake out
Yeah.
vision thing.
Fake out.
Not in that way, but like he should die, because then for Breaking Dawn it establishes this whole new thing where like the Cullen family's kind of lost and they've never been without their patriarch and without their moral compass. Like he's a guiding compass for all of them,
Yeah.
and it's kind of the
Yeah.
groundwork. So it forces them to kind of like, it forces Esme to get more of a spotlight and like come into her own and everything. And it's not fun. Like, I get that as fans, like we don't want that. We love Carlisle, but also like it makes sense. It's a main character. There's real stakes, which makes going into Breaking Dawn like a really epic finale. And the Cullens have to kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it forces all of them to kind of like take everything more seriously and get more highlight. Honestly, it's like a really good idea. So
I know.
shout
I was
out to
like, so
Texan.
no, seriously. The more I'm thinking about, it, I'm like, wow. Like it really would like they would be so devastated in the beginning of
Hmm.
Breaking Dawn, and I just think it would have added definitely like
Yeah.
this bittersweet. Like, yeah, sure, they get married and they fuck, and that's all great, but they're all
Right.
still mourning the loss
Yeah.
of their
And
like
Carlisle's not even there for the birth. So it wouldn't
yeah.
have even changed any of that.
Oh goodness gracious.
And like it almost adds this intensity to the wedding too, where it's like finding joy in really
Yeah.
sorrowful times. Like I think
Yeah.
of, I'm not really like a Hunger Games fan necessarily. Like I was
But
never like
exactly. Yeah.
into it, but it's like um in Mockingjay,
Yeah. There's Finnick
Finnick,
and Annie.
yeah, and Annie get married, and it's like, despite all this and despite like all this horrible stuff that's going on, it's like this nice moment in this chasm of sadness and fear,
True.
like, oh no, something bad is going to happen soon.
Yeah.
um and I feel like we could have gotten, I don't know, I think it could have been like more epic, because it feels like in the beginning there's stakes. It's like the first book slash movie. It's like Bella's getting thrown all around. Her legs broken. She almost dies. Like she almost turns into a vampire. Like all this stuff. It seems like we start off with like a bang, and then she just gets scared to kill anyone off. Which I mean, I get, but
Yeah. Other than poor Brie, what did she fucking do?
yeah, I feel like she's only there for us to get like, for her to get our sympathy for a second, just so that Stephanie can say she killed someone that we liked. And it's like,
okay.
I mean, but we don't know her. Like, I'm sorry, but we didn't know her until you told us to like her.
Okay, fine. Let's kill Jessica.
Jessica just like is on a hike. Jessica's strolling.
Wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, for real.
The battle's happening, and they're like, "Oh no!"
Alice saw it coming, but she's like, you know what? This is a sacrifice we've got to.
You gotta take it. Sorry.
No, she wouldn't have because the wolves are involved. That's right. What if there was just a random hiker because Alice didn't see it?
Yeah.
So they were like, fuck, wait, there's a festival going on at this meeting location. Damn it.
They're all doing like a silent disco.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, just like vampires are rising out of the water. Like, what's happening? Who are you? Oh my God. Riley. Oh my God. Wait. I heard you went missing around Seattle. You look weird.
Yeah. Hot, but also
like uncanny valley a little bit. Okay, so let me look at my hater notes really quick to refresh. My hater notes. My outline of anger. I think I've talked about most of this. Oh, we haven't talked about the backstories. Which is a very big plus and a very big negative for me.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they're a plus in a lot of ways because, like, you know, we learn more about Rosalie. We get Rosalie's, backstory. We learn, unfortunately, about Jasper, which is a negative, but like you had to get it. We get more of their love story.
You had to get it. Says who?
No, I mean, it could have been different, but like. No, I'm just trying to be positive. I'm just trying to cope.
I mean, Rosalie in Eclipse is definitely a plus. Her backstory, not like that's a good thing, but like the depth of her backstory, and we learn a lot more about Rosalie as a character that I feel like I always liked Rosalie. I never really got it necessarily, but you understand why she's bitchy, and like you start to really understand Rosalie. And she becomes very three-dimensional, and I like that she's being a lot sweeter to Bella, and it's just nice. I love all the Rosalie stuff. We love that. We love her badass killing. I love that with the R-wordist.
And I'm struggling to find the positives in any of the other backstories. Like when I think
we don't even get to see Alice's, which is like, what the fuck?
And
I know that she doesn't remember at that time.
Yeah.
Okay, but hear me out. We still don't see. We just get described of when her and Jasper meet at the train station. It's like, show us a visual from it. I want to see them in the 50s. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Please.
That would be so good. Okay, maybe we'll get it in the television reboot.
I really hope. And I really hope we get Esme's too, because Esme's my girl. She's my favorite. And her backstory's so interesting and like parallels Bella's a lot. Like you realize that her and Bella are super similar. Esme was a teacher. Bella wanted to be a teacher. Esme tried and succeeded, if not turned into a vampire and committing, unalive. Yeah. And Bella, in order to see Edward, almost accidentally did, by jumping. And they both jumped off a cliff.
Yeah, wow.
And no, but Esme's is really interesting about like her seeing Carla. If you don't know anything about it, Bi.4.Twi is my cosplay account, and I have a whole thing. It used to just be Esme, but then I recently changed it where it's a lot of characters. And I did like a little thing going over Esme's backstory and the parallels to Bella and New Moon. But also just Esme's backstory in general is like, I also have a thing on that because I think it's so interesting. And it's like, wow.
And the stuff that we learned through Midnight Sun, through Edward's like retelling of Carlisle and Esme's like beginning of their story, I find very interesting. And not perfect, just interesting.
Right. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, you had time to show us so much unnecessary shit, and you left out. Just tell everyone's backstory at that point. Yeah. Just tell everyone's backstory because it's all interesting. I feel like the backstories are really captivating parts of the series.
Mhm.
And she's like, Rosalie, and then let me spend forever talking about Jasper and the Confederacy. And it's like, um, actually, I like Jasper until now. Why did you do that? Why
It's
did
like
you do that?
I know that she could have somehow. She's just not that good of a writer, and I think she just was really trying to show us how she can like talk about vampire armies to give us the later conflict. But it's like, babes, you could have done it a different way.
Why didn't
Like,
she make him in the Union? If you
yeah,
want to
like
do like a Civil War vampire
yeah,
army thing, just make him in the Union. Or at the very least, make it very explicitly clear that he regrets
regrets
fighting
it.
for that. He doesn't regret his life. He doesn't regret the choices he's
Yeah,
ultimately made because it led him
right.
to Alice, but like he regrets having any part in fighting for the side. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And it's
so
like,
true.
no, we just have to like kind of hope. It's like,
Yeah.
no, tell us that. Tell us that. Because it also paints Alice in a bad light too, where it's like, girl, what are you doing? What the fuck is this?
She's just a pick me as well.
Ugh, so true. Yeah, that's something about Alice that I feel like people ignore is like, look, she's a queen, but she's also very much like a manic pixie dream girl in a good and a bad way. Like
Hmm.
she does kind of bulldoze over a lot of things in a way that's like, maybe she should have taken like Bella's opinion more into account here or something, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, her boundaries are not really good at all.
Okay, let me see what else. I hate the color grading. I hate the color grading.
How do I debate this?
It's so Eclipse is just so macho man. Like it's so obvious
Yeah.
that's directed by the guy who did 30 Days of Night,
I was
which is
like,
like macho vampire movie, you know, which I mean, I like that movie. It's a good movie, but like it's not it just isn't the tone of the rest of the series.
yeah. But I guess one would argue that it was like that's kind of perfect in a way for the book. Like again, we just
Yeah.
like we it is a 1-to-1 because that book doesn't fit necessarily. It's just like this thing that we have
Oh,
to
I'll
go
say.
through.
Just
Trauma.
um 1 point good. It's a decent soundtrack. There's some bangers on
Yeah.
it, for
Yeah, yeah,
sure. There's some bangers.
yeah.
There's just so much action, but I feel like it's so boring. Like, how is that simultaneously happening?
Right, right. Yeah. Ah,
Just-
damn it.
I told you I'm number one hater era for this movie and this
I
book.
keep thinking of negative things to say.
I'm reminding you of other things that just
But it's
aren't
like one
great.
of my biggest fucking beefs I have is when they're in the graduation scene and it's like broad daylight being pumped in and not a single one of these assholes is glittering. And I was like, there's not even you're in a gym. There's not even windows in a gym. Where's all this natural light coming from? It's insane.
Yeah. Well, isn't it outside in the
It's in a fucking gymnasium. I mean, in the book it might be outside, but in the fucking movie, everyone is like
That's great. I feel like I
fucking
Mandela
lit
like that.
up.
I Mandela affect myself into thinking that it was outside because it looks so bright.
But
What the
again, why
hell?
aren't they glittering? And it's like
Oh
it
my
needs to be
God, it is in the
overcast.
gymnasium. Why did I like fully convince myself? I think it's because there's that part where she's walking with Charlie
Right.
afterwards and
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
deleted scenes and
yeah.
they're outside. So I think
Right.
I like tricked myself into thinking this was an outdoor graduation because it's so bright, which I mean makes sense why they're not glittering if it's inside. But at the same time,
Yes.
it's like, I
It
mean,
doesn't look like indoor lighting though. It
it does not
looks
look
like
like indoor
fucking
lighting.
natural sunlight. And so
Yeah.
whoever I guess I'm just agreeing with you. The color grading was all like I don't know who was in charge of that, but they just were not paying attention.
It's so blue in like an ugly way, not like
Yeah,
in the cool way of like the first movie. It's like
yeah,
blue in like a like they took the saturation, they made it like really low, and then they piped in
yeah,
like this dark and they like made the exposure like really like I don't know, like all the blacks are really black and
yeah.
it works for like the Seattle scenes, I feel. But the rest of the movie is just like everything seems so sad and harsh and you know.
I mean, again, I guess it kind of works in that way. It
Yeah,
kind of
that's
slays in that way
true.
because it's a harsh book and a lot of it's just a lot of like there's just tension. Like no one's happy. Like it's not there's not happiness anywhere.
Yeah. Well, but neither does New Moon, and New Moon's my favorite.
True,
And
but
it's
it's
not
like
happy, but it's like there's still something like
yeah,
there's something very
more.
real feeling about it. It feels very much like I don't know, Bella really feels like a teenage girl in it. Even though all these crazy things are happening, there's something with the color grading and the set design and everything that makes it feel very grounded.
Yeah, and
And
I
I just Eclipse doesn't have that. It feels like a stage. It feels like a sound stage the entire time.
right, and I think in a way, like you're used to the word earlier, like uncanny valley of it all, kind of just it made me think that it's if I'm like being like really yeah, like or like giving the benefit of the doubt, it's like they almost like there's like a headcanon now I'm thinking in my head like it was almost like she was getting too close to the like the edge, right? Like everyone's just pretending, everyone is where everyone New Moon was sad and drastic and like and this morning time, but now things are kind of better again and they're fucking lying to themselves, both of them. Bella's lying to herself, Ella's lying, Edward is lying.
Ella.
Ella, oh, that's a great name for them. They're both lying to themselves and to each other about how like everything's gonna be fine, and it's just
Yeah.
not, and everything is just ratcheting up to like this. Everyone's pretending. Everyone is. It's uncanny valley. We're fine. We're going to school. We're graduating. Everything's fucking fine, and it's not.
I love the way that we, as Twilight enjoyers, gaslight ourselves into thinking it's better than it is. Because I find myself doing that all the time. Like to explain why the vampires don't sparkle in Breaking Dawn, I'm like, and shout out to whoever came up with this theory first. I've seen it, but I don't know who to even trace it back to because now I feel like everyone started adopting it, which is that Bella, like they're not sparkling because Bella's more used to the vampires and she's becoming more and more desensitized. So she notices the vampire traits less and less. And that's why they're not sparkling and Breaking Dawn. And it's like, we're just gaslighting ourselves. Like we're just pretending it's better than it is.
Really?
Because it's not that good. Okay, my last point about my anti-eclipse that we haven't like touched on at all because it's like I could continue about like the Jacob stuff, but it's like we know that's icky and we know it's gross and there's no reason to like even
Yeah.
really talk about it more. But why isn't Edward groveling? I know Bella is so quick to forgive and she's still worried that he's going to leave again. And so she doesn't want to be like too mean. And she knows that Edward already feels bad enough. So she's trying not to like rub in his face. Like, look, I get it from her perspective. But Edward, his self loathing ass should be on the ground, scream crying,
So true.
upset, begging. He should be like, nothing I ever do will make up for what I did to you. You know what I mean? Like
Which is
I
like
just feel
what
like
he promised in New Moon at the end. He was like, I don't know if you'll ever be able to forgive me, but I'm gonna like fucking try. And she's like, it's all good. And then he
yeah.
just stopped
Yeah,
trying.
it's like, okay, keep trying,
Keep
actually.
going,
Keep
actually.
going. And I'm not saying like he should be annoying and ruin their
Yeah.
relationship by just constantly being like, "Oh, by the way, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." But like, maybe you should listen to her more. Maybe you shouldn't kidnap her. Just like a thought.
Yeah. I mean, you keep bringing that back up.
You're like, "No, that was a good thing."
No, no, but it's so true. But I feel like my defense of him before you reminded me of that was that, uh, in a way, is like he's almost. Oh God, I cannot believe I am actually about to try to say this. It's back to that gaslighting shit right now. I was gonna say, in a way, he's almost trying to model healthier relationship dynamics by not trying to force her hand to like think about like that whole thing and like let her make her choice. If it's Jacob or him, it doesn't matter. He's
But
gonna
he
trust
kidnaps
her
her while he's gone and
decisions.
doesn't let her
I know.
visit Jacob. That's not.
I keep
It's
thinking about the movie
wait,
version.
wait. Me gaslighting myself again.
Yeah.
Uh what if he's just super worried about letting her go and he's worried that she still has trauma about that where like he's overcompensating and he's holding on too tight.
That's kind of where I was. Okay, yeah. Yeah, he's holding on too tight.
Don't lie to our don't
No, no.
Jenna, we can't lie to ourselves. We can't lie to ourselves. Oh my gosh.
Everything I've ever thought is a lie.
Oh no. I've like black pilled you about Eclipse. I've like ruined your life. Oh my god. Join me. Join
Uh,
me. I
it's
think all
okay.
it took, I was like kind of I don't know. I feel like I was more subtle of like an Eclipse hater until I reread the book like last year.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, man, this is a rough read. Like this is dark. This is grim. And not in the way that it's supposed to be. Like the enemies in Eclipse for me are not the newborn army. They are like the people in Bella's life. It's like, oh my God. Girl, get out. Like all I wanted after Eclipse was for her to just like move away and never talk to these people again. Like get out.
She's like, I need a couple weeks actually. Like that
Yeah.
was like a lot for me. Yeah, I'm
No,
gonna go.
genuinely.
I'm gonna go like take a break to like I'm gonna go visit a friend in Phoenix. Like
She's
I
like,
don't
I'm
know.
18 now. I'm actually gonna get an apartment and like
Yeah,
leave y'all. Because what the fuck? I'm gonna sell the diamond that you gave me, Edward, from your mom, so I can get an apartment and get the fuck out of here.
no, and instead, Edward will just totally unplug parts of her car and not let her leave
Yeah,
at all, which
take her
totally happens
spark
in this
plug
movie.
out.
And her dad's also doing it. I mean, we're fucking sick. All right,
Okay.
cut this episode. I can't
Cut
do
this
this
shit.
anymore.
Cut it out. You're like, actually, cut this whole episode because it's ruined me. Can you erase this from my memory? I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to anyone else that's in a club. You know what? If after listening to this, you're still like avidly pro Eclipse, please leave a comment because I
Yeah,
gotta know. Like any
gotta
points we
know.
miss that are pro Eclipse, I gotta hear it. And it can't just be
Yeah.
like, well, I like it. Like I need a reason. I need more reasons for why this is so many people's favorite book and movie in the series. Like I don't get it. I can't conceptualize it. So I need y'all to tell me because it's not it for me.
So good.
So thank you to the lovely Jenna. Supermassive Twilight Hole. Go check out their podcast.
And check out my
Incredible.
Eclipse episode where I say a lot of good things.
This is like the perfect, yes, it's the perfect yin yang. It's like if you're coming from that episode and then you somehow hear about this, it's like, oh, perfect. And like another take, like, oh, more about Eclipse from Jenna, but like now there's a detractor. And then if you listen to this, it's like, okay, maybe you got a little bit too much like hater energy. Now go over and listen to all the good stuff.
Yeah, like come on over to Supermassive Twilight Hole and hear me and my friend talk about Eclipse and all of the. Oh yeah, it was Eris. She did a great job. She brought in some really interesting points from the Brie Tanner of it all that connected some shit that I didn't think about. Cannot remember right now, but definitely go and
Oh my
listen to
God.
it.
Wait, and I'm Ellis. It's kind of like we're literally the yin and the yang
And
on
you kind of
Eclipse.
look like her. Oh my gosh, I love this. This
Oh
is
my
great.
God, wait. Wait.
Wait.
Do I have an evil I guess I would be the evil twin in this context.
Yeah, like I'm
Am I the
Eris.
evil twin of
Oh.
someone? Wait, what the fuck? Oh my gosh. All right. Well, again, let me know what you guys think. Goodbye. Well, I'm joined by Mars, aka Bellaseclipsewig on Instagram. They are an incredible cosplayer. You start out really doing Bella, but I've seen you do like a billion. I mean, you still obviously do Bella, but Rosalie and all the others. You did Kate, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
she's
Kate,
I,
Queen.
I
Mars and I go way back. It's like a year. But so what's really weird about Mars and I is that we're incredibly similar, like in freaky ways, we realized. I was in Florida for college and we basically realized, holy crap, we both live in Florida. We're both into Twilight, we're both cosplayers. And then we just start to slowly realize, like, oh my gosh, we're both non binary. We have the same like glasses prescription.
Yeah, like when we were cosplaying together, and I was like, "Well, I have these contacts," and then they were the same.
Same
except,
prescription.
like, how does that?
Right. And like we, both like brown haired, white, like we're very similar on paper, but a big difference is that, which we haven't really like even talked about. It's just been like an unspoken thing on the table, is that you
Yep.
you're team Jacob and I'm team Edward. We are uniting the cause. We're what all the have you seen that one post where it's like I was at the premiere for Eclipse and they were blocking the bathroom saying like you can only go in if you're like Team Edward or something. We're bridging that front of
Yeah, the solidarity right here.
yeah, exactly. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Which I feel like that hasn't actually even been like an issue, even among like young fans. I don't feel like it's been an issue for like 10 years probably now. Not like it used to be during the height of Twilight. Um, but yeah, your team Jacob. And so I was like, what better than for the Jacob and Renesmee and Autopsy episode and the Eclipse episode to have you come on and just give like a few thoughts from because I feel like like Eclipse is where I really dislike Jacob,
I feel
and
that's most people's like, look at what he did in Eclipse. Like, how could
right.
you? I have my ammo ready.
Okay. Well, let's start with that then. Let's start with Eclipse. So, what is your ammo? Fire back at me. I'm ready.
Basically, I find that most people use like the him kissing her without consent thing as like their big anti Jacob, which I fully understand. I don't have like ammo or like
You're like, actually,
it's just I'm like actually so bad. Like, wouldn't you let Jacob I'm so kidding. That was awful. Um I have two things on that though. My first one being that I think it's interesting when juxtaposed with like this is why Edward's a better choice, because I feel that the series is kind of built on Edward violating Bella's consent and autonomy. So for that to be like, oh, I don't like Jacob because he violated Bella's consent, it's like, then why do you like Edward? Because start this romance off with him like sneaking into her bedroom. I'm not. I feel like a kiss, which this isn't. Also, I feel like I'm preparing myself to cancel what little audience I do have. Like I've, but
guys, do not send Mars hate. Do not.
I'm not trying to downplay the kiss, but it's. I just feel like that's not as bad as like all the horrible things Edward has done. We also this is Eclipse. This is relevant to Eclipse. Early on in the movie, he he breaks her car so she can't go see her friends.
Yes. I hate
Which,
everyone in Eclipse. Everyone.
yeah,
I hate Charlie. I hate Alice. Like, I don't
that
like anyone in Eclipse.
like horrible. But just like for example, I feel like if you're so mad about the Jacob kiss thing that you don't like Jacob anymore, how does like all the Edward shit not also push you over that edge? Like
Definitely. Yeah, I want to clarify. I am not technically Team Edward. I'm technically Team no one. Like, if it's like that's an option, I'm like Team Bella or like maybe Team Alice, ignoring a few things. But like, but it's like, yeah. No, but you're right. Like, I feel like it kind of boils down to like, is the physical violation or like the mental violation worse? And like, how do you kind of, because you could be like, well, the intent is different, but at the same time, Jacob's also like a kid. Like, how much kind of,
yeah.
yeah, like stock can you put in his actions in Eclipse because he is so young? Is Jacob 16 or 17 in Eclipse? Not that it makes a big difference.
I think he's 16.
Yeah, I think you're right. Because I think he's 15 when they first meet, and then he turns 16. He's 16 till like Breaking Dawn, I think.
I'm gonna say, don't quote me on it, but quote me on it if I'm right, because slay. But like, he
Only
turned
quote me
7.
for the things I'm right about, actually.
Yeah, if I end up being right, I go on record as being correct. Um, I don't think he turns 17 for the whole series. I think he's about to turn 17 and Breaking On, but I think he literally goes through all that shit as like a 16-year-old. Can I curse on here?
No, you can't. Actually, you can't fucking
I love
curse on here. No, I've been
like
trying to curse I'm not trying to like curse like a sailor on here, but no, like we have been cursing. Well, because it's kind of impossible to not, because we're gonna be discussing at times like horniness and stuff. So it's like you can't kind of not. Like the books curse, it's not like we're breaking out of the box here.
I just wasn't sure because it's like a podcast, you know. I'm gonna get
No, this is
passionate.
actually for 12-year-olds. So
Yeah, this
so
is a P-rated podcast.
yeah,
We have
we're
to
actually
say this. We're gonna have to skip that
yeah,
part.
you actually can't even talk about the kiss because kissing is inappropriate.
Yeah,
Let me see. Is Jacob 17 in Twilight at all? So it says he was born in 1990 and Breaking Dawn takes place in the same year as his transformation in New Moon. So yeah, he has to be 16. It'd be the same year. So there's no way that he could have turned 17. So yeah, he's like a baby.
so that's just insane to me already. Like, that's an infant. Like, he has homework to do later after shit. Like,
Oh my gosh.
the
No, actually, my friend who's in medical school right now was like, I have to do homework tonight. And my mind just immediately flashed to like baby child. Even though she's in medical school, like it's not like that. But I hear homework and I'm like, oh my gosh, like they're kids. Like I feel like it's so easy to forget that. But like they're kids. Their brains are not our brains are not developed. Like in think about us when we were their age. Like you're even worse. Like, oh my gosh. So it's like, yeah. But then you could make the same argument for Edward, where it's like emotionally he's trapped at 17. And so he doesn't have as much of an excuse because he has at least lived experiences. But like, I feel like you can almost cut everyone a little bit of slack because it's like they're all idiots. They're all babies. No offense to anyone listening to this that's a baby, but
yeah, you're an idiot.
yeah, you're actually an idiot loser if you're no. When you're 17, I feel like you are capable of being very smart and very mature, but you also aren't like you don't think your brain literally does not function the same way as when you're an adult. So I feel like it almost takes more effort than an adult to like get to the same maturity steps, and it takes less effort than when you're an adult to make like a bad decision. Which is why we have laws around things regarding age.
Um, my argument for that is always just like, yes, the vampires are supposed to be frozen at the age they were turned or whatever, and they can't mature past that. But he has perfect recall. So it's not even like extra life experience. It's all these things like it's not even like someone like let's say they're immortal, but they have like the mental capacity of a 17-year-old because like maybe they'll forget things or whatever. He has perfect recall. So anything he learns from his life experience is right there at the ready.
True,
So
but like his brain chemistry is like that of a 17-year-old. So it's like you could be like a 17-year-old who maybe is more like maybe you've gone through more than like a spoiled 17-year-old from a small town or something. You know what I mean? Like maybe you've lived more experiences, but you still ultimately your brain is still 17. Like you can say, "Oh, I'm mature from age," or "Oh, I'm like a hardened person, I'm jaded." But it's like, mm, but you're still 17. Like your brain still thinks the same.
I can see that as like a regular 17-year-old, but the thing for me is like even if your thought process is still going to be that same way, I feel like with perfect memory, you should be able to apply like more empathy and logic to situations, because it's not like a
Sure.
regular brain where like a 17-year-old sees, you know, maybe an example of an abusive relationship and they can't stand outside of themselves to be like, oh, maybe this is what I'm doing to my partner. But I feel like someone with perfect recall would be more likely to have that ability.
Well, I mean, maybe, but I also feel like that's not really true because, sometimes we can be super mature and like, it's that thing where we'll give advice to our friends and then we can't take the same advice for ourselves, and we'll give the same advice to a billion different friends and we know better and we know all the logic and everything. And then, then we're in a similar situation. We're like, I'm not going to even listen to myself, you
Yeah.
know? We as humans, I feel like, are inherently selfish, and we have problems with like relating ourselves to other people. But I'm not trying to run defense for every bad thing that Edward has done. That is not what I'm trying to do at all. It's more so I'm more like fascinated about Jacob, because I would say like New Moon alone, I am team Jacob. Like not just for what Edward does, like even if Edward didn't exist, there's a hypothetical guy Bella's sad over. Just Jacob's personality alone in New Moon, I'm like instantly endeared to him. Like I love him in New Moon. And then we get to Eclipse, and then I feel like if it was just Eclipse, I wouldn't have a problem. But then we also get him in Breaking Dawn, which brings us to this is it for the Eclipse episode. So you guys are going to have to wait for the rest of our conversation until the Renesmee and Jacob an autopsy, because we are now going to discuss that. So see you then. So I hope you enjoyed those conversations with Supermassive Twilight Hole, aka Jenna, and Bellaseclipsewig, aka Mars, on why I think Eclipse sucks and they think Eclipse is great. And I think we convinced Jenna there that Eclipse isn't great, which, round of applause for me. By the way, if you've made it to this far in the video, thank you so much for listening / watching. You are the reason that I do this. Please consider hitting subscribe so you can see the next episode, and it just helps me out a lot. You may have also noticed that I am wearing Alice's jacket in Eclipse that she wears when she's talking to Charlie. So I figured I had to put that on for the intro and outro. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you next week. Bye.